Hi, I'm Ben, and we're in my garage today because we are going to be swapping out a regular bicycle tire for a studded tire. But right before we do that, I'm going to go into why. This should only take a few seconds. So here's the situation. You're driving down the road in a car. You have four wheels, obviously, and you hit a patch of black ice. That's not good, but at least it's only a temporary loss of control, and soon you regain your traction. That's good. But on a bicycle, if you are biking and you don't have a studded tire, the same situation, you're biking down that road and you hit black ice, you're going down so quick that it will hurt. Unfortunately, you might break wrists, you could really hurt yourself, or you could fall into traffic. So this is why I think it is so important for people to have studded tires, just at least on their front wheel. I realize that they're costly compared to a regular tire, but it's totally worth it. Just one day off work already makes having a single front studded tire worth it. Now, another situation. You're going down the same road and you have a studded tire. What happens? Maybe your back skids out, but it's not a big deal. Honestly, I've been biking for the last 2-3 seasons, and it's not a big deal if your back wheel hits a little bit of ice. Most of the time you get through that patch really quick. It's just that front tire that you need to have studs on. So, with that in mind, let's get to it. The first thing you are going to want to do is remove things like your lock. This is extra weight that you just don't need to have on your bike. I have an e-bike, so it's a little bit more heavy and stuff and things. If you have a bike stand, it's perfect, but a lot of people don't, so we're going to put this bike upside down on its handlebars. Hey, it's Ben from the future. Make sure you undo your brake cables before turning your bike upside down. If you have a mirror, make sure you don't do what I just almost did and lob it off. Make sure it's facing downwards, which is actually upwards once you're upside down. A tip for not damaging your handlebars, if you were to care, unlike me, you can put panniers or bags or even a blanket down, especially if you're doing this at home. You can do this inside as well, and then at that point you want to make sure you're not damaging your floor. So here we go, we're going to be replacing the front. For me, I have locking skewers, and for you, you might have a quick release. I'll have to probably move this so it's leaning against something. Again, I have an e-bike and the back wheel really throws off the weight and it just wants to fall over. I'm gonna go grab my locking key for my locking skewer set. Mine looks like this. Yours would most likely be either an Allen key, screw, or a quick release. I'm just gonna loosen it up. So now that we've done that, I undid my brakes just now from that clip earlier. And this is that. This is the tire. Next step is you're just going to deflate it. You'll probably hear some pops here. That's the rubber finally, oh, there we go. And that's the rubber finally unseizing itself against the metal, against the rim. Yet again, just like any old tire, you're going to remove it with tire levers. If you don't know how to do this, you're going to kind of jam the tire lever in, lift up, and hook it around the spokes, just like that. So if I were to do it on the other side here, you go like this. So you have the first spoke, then you're going to dig in here again, do the second spoke, and then the third spoke. Usually at this point, the middle one falls out because there's a gap. After this, you can kind of just keep on going and you're good to go. You keep on going around and it should be just fine. I'm gonna deflate it just a little bit more so it's easy to get out. There is no air left in there. Be delicate with the actual valve here. You don't want to damage the valve stem. Okay, there we go. We have a rim and we have the old tire and the tubes inside. So we're gonna go ahead and take the tube out because we need that. Again, this has been in there so long that it's stuck to the actual tire. So this is the tube, this is the tire, and the rim is right there. Before we do anything with the tube or rim or anything, we're going to make sure that the actual sidewall is okay. And make sure that if this was sitting over winter, which mine was, it was just under my bed the whole time, you're gonna wanna make sure that you rub your hand along the wall, make sure that there's no lacerations. Especially on this Ice Biker Pro, the wall is very, very supple and you don't want to hurt it. Just a quick note actually with storing these, make sure that they are stored not near delicate things. Once you're pulling them out from under the bed, let's say, or in your garage, or near other tires, these studs can latch on and actually lacerate other tires and cause those tires to be flat. So you don't want that. That's just a quick aside from my experience, because I already had one lacerated tire. Next bit is check the inside. Make sure that during storage, or if these are new or anything, make sure that there's nothing in there that will pop your tire. So in my case, I have a bunch of grit, and to get rid of it, I'm gonna go here, have it so the lip goes like this, and then flip it and have it all come out. If you've gotten this far into the video, congratulations, you get a pro tip. So when you are placing your valve stem, if you put it right here, which is right where it says the PSI ratings, etc., you'll be able to find that really easily. No more kind of spinning the wheel around trying to find it. You just go to your valve stem and you'll know that the PSI ratings are gonna be right there for you when you need it. Thanks, Jensen, from the Squeaky Wheel Bike Co-op in London, Ontario. That was actually super helpful, and I do it on all my bikes now. That right there is a reason to subscribe, because I have these weird little tips that you kind of learn over time, and you can skip the learning part and just learn it all right here while watching a few videos here and there. If you didn't know about that, or if you did, go ahead and smash the like button. It helps. Up next, we have our rim and we have the tire. So we're gonna go ahead and put the valve stem at the bottom. This is how I like to do that. And then we're going to start putting the rim on. Now, I didn't deflate my tire a huge amount. It still has some air in it, and that's important. When you put your tube on, you don't want it to be flimsy. You don't want it to be no air at all, because then you might actually catch it. So we're going to, now that it's in here and it's on at least one side in the rim, I'm going to inflate it just slightly. We're just gonna inflate it with a few pumps. Okay, that's all. That's all I'm doing. And now we're gonna put the rim on. We're gonna put the lip on. Now the other side here. I'm gonna start over here at the valve stem, just so it's not left behind. And as you're doing this, make sure your valve stem's not popping out. I wonder if I can do it with just my hands. Oh, I can. Boom, done. So there we go. I didn't even need a tire lever for that. Now I'm gonna pump it up. Okay. While I do this, I'll just explain about PSI in the winter. You don't want to have a really low PSI, but you don't want a really high PSI. Pretty much in the winter, you're going to sacrifice performance for some stability, but you also don't want really, really low PSI, because then you can get a snake bite, where what happens is you go against a curb, let's say, and it pinches when you hit the curb, and it pokes 2 holes in your tube, which is not good. You don't want that. On the Ice Biker Pro model here, we have minimum of 30 PSI and maximum of 55. I'm just gonna go ahead and put in 40 PSI. If you have a new studded tire, there is one important thing to do after you've done all of this and installed it. You need to make sure that you set them. You need to go for a 20-kilometer bike ride and get those set. And in that bike ride, it says this on the package, but you don't wanna do too many aggressive things. You don't wanna cause it so it skids, and you don't wanna stop suddenly. You wanna have a nice, relaxing ride, because then the studs can actually set into the bike. And it's best that you do this not on your commute. Do this on one day on the weekend or something where you can set them in. Now for the next step, which is honestly just putting it on. Just make sure that if you have the Ice Biker Pro, you're fine, because there's no actual direction in which these face. You can put them on backwards or frontwards. You can't even tell which one's which. But if you have another style of studded tire, just like any other tire, say this, on this tire, this is not a studded tire, this is what I took off, but there is a direction. What you'll see there is an arrow. That's there to divert water, etc. So if you are going down and it's going this way, it's not as efficient. You want to make sure that the arrows are pointing towards where your bike will be going forwards. And then putting it on is not that big of a deal either. Sometimes when you're putting the tire in, just keep in mind that you might actually want to not inflate it fully first, because you might not be able to get past your rim brakes. In this case, I can, just slightly. And I almost had a problem there, but if that does arise, all you need to do is deflate your tire a little bit and then blow it back up. So we're going to put this back in place. Get my brakes, oh boy, it's falling over. Without the bike falling over on you, I'm going to do my brakes right now. Looks like I got it. Okay, yeah, no, there's no rubbing at all. I guess this was Good. If there is rubbing and your wheel is slightly sideways for some reason, you just have to kind of rotate it back and forth. And to do that, you move this left or right. So this way, that way. You do that, and then you lock it into place with whichever tool you need to get the job done. Go a little bit tighter. You don't want to do it too tight. You don't want things undoable. There we go. So I'm gonna flip it back over and I'm gonna bring it for a test ride. The test ride is key because you might have it so that you think everything's fine, but there might be rubbing somewhere. If you have a fender like this, you might need to adapt it to be a little bit wider or something. And what I'm looking for here is to make sure nothing pops. And I'm making sure that it's not too flat, and I'm making sure I put enough pressure in. So far, so good. And nothing's clinking, clanking, or anything. It's easier if you don't have a basket on the front. I might need to realign my brakes there, but pretty good. And now if I encounter any ice, I'll be fine. You can kind of see there that it's just locking right in. That's my test. It's not that extensive, and I now have a front tire that is a studded tire. There you go. That is how you change a front tire and why a studded tire during the winter is so important to have, especially on the front. Now, I still need to change out the back tire on my bike, not to a studded tire, but to something a little bit more knobby, because I went for a grocery run right after filming that video, and I was slipping all over the place. The front wheel was totally fine, but the back wheel is pretty slick, and it's like a road tire compared to a nice knobby mountain bike tire. So I'm gonna switch that over, but it's a bit more complex because of the nature of my e-bike and its wiring, and it's not disconnecting, and you have to... With all that said, I hope you liked the video, and if you did, please go ahead and tap the like button. But really, I just hope that you're safer on the road now that you've watched this video and you know how important having a studded tire is. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon for future videos like this. And if you know someone else who might actually want to be frostbiking coming up, share this video with them. Okay, I think that's all I got. Bye!